The Battle for Earth, Book 2 in the Aerial Between Two Worlds series. Chapter 1. The Thomas Jefferson Suite at the historic Willard Hotel is undeniably breathtaking, at least by Earth standards. Impressive, I say, as I take in the opulent decor. President Miller must think we're royalty. Davin's lips curl into a half smile, his trademark smirk, the one that usually heralds an especially sarcastic remark. We are royalty, milady. My angel has such a spirited sense of humor. I decide to play along. Indeed we are, my lord. But now I must confess that our journey has made me ravenous, and I fear I might waste away before your eyes. Then I shall order the cooks to prepare a feast immediately. I smile and make a purring sound. You will do this whilst I bathe? You will do this for me? I shall, he replies, with a smile bright enough to melt bones. Wouldst wild boar and the castle's finest wine please thee? Yes, I believe I would fancy that. Sire. Davin arches his brow and smiles as I twirl on my toes and leave the room. The jacuzzi tub is not quite up to Olympian standards, but the hot, churning water feels wonderful on my stress-filled body. In a way, the turbulence reminds me of what my life has become. In little more than a year, I've gone from being a high school senior to an immortal angel, a member of the angelic royal family, actually. It's been an amazing journey. I've killed a fallen angel. I've healed my best friend from what would have been a fatal knife wound, turning her into an angel in the process. I've fallen in love with a warrior master, blissfully committing myself to him in a traditional angelic binding, only to see him nearly killed the very next day. But with the help of my sister and the grace of the Creator, I healed him, triggering a genetic change that made us the most powerful angels in existence. We are like two halves of a raging star. We are the most lethal creatures ever to walk the mortal worlds. We can fly like eagles, bend light to our will, and fill the sky with terrifying bolts of lightning. We hold the power of Thor's hammer in our hands. We are the wrath of God. And it's a good thing we are, because our mission is to save the human race from enslavement. Davin and I spent 3 months sequestered on his private island, training with my sister Lana, a Prostati angel named Chloe, my best friend Ella, her boyfriend Tal, my mom, my dad, and my dad's sister Grace, whose story is quite remarkable. Grace, you see, was betrayed and killed by her lover Janus as he led a coup against the royal family of Paradise, my family, over 1 million years ago. She was so distraught over Janus's betrayal that she chose to become mortal and has since lived thousands of lives on both Olympus and Earth. In her most recent incarnation, she was abducted by Janus, who now leads the fallen on Earth. The evil stinker has spent eons obsessed with finding and controlling young women whose misfortune it is to resemble his former lover Grace, or Cherie, as she was known on Paradise. Serendipity can be brutal. Unbeknownst to Janus, His mistreatment of Grace triggered an extraordinary series of events, a perfect storm that resulted in her remembering everything. With her angelic DNA reawakened by my father's touch, she has dedicated herself to our cause, becoming a staunch ally in the battle for Earth. As for my father, his bravery and selflessness in leading the first war against the fallen on Olympus nearly 1,000,000 years ago resulted in him being granted two special gifts from paradise: a true love and me. His true love, my mom, was a mortal human. I say was because he transformed her into an angel prior to my conception. In any event, when I was 8 years old, the fallen were getting dangerously close to finding our Virginia home. I suppose Dad could have moved us to Olympus, but his primary mission was to hunt the fallen on Earth, and he wanted us to be together. Of course, Mom and I had no idea that we were angels. The better to keep us safe, I guess. When Janice and Dad ran into each other in Washington, it was way too close for comfort, and Dad did the only thing he could. He staged his death. Mom and I truly believed he was gone. We also believed the nanny, who'd lived with us since I was in diapers, was just a nanny. But Lana was my sister and our guardian. Sadly, she left shortly after Dad's death, but we were not left unprotected. Far from it. Four fierce and stealthy Prostati angels were assigned to watch over us. I should add that in addition to being elite warriors, Prostati have the ability to make themselves invisible. Very handy when it comes to being clandestine guardians. To be sure, members of the angelic royal family also possess this ability. As far as angels go, we are exceptionally versatile. You bathe, I say to Davin, as my eyes roam over his towel-clad body, drinking in every glorious inch of him. After all we've been through, he still makes my heart flutter. I felt a little dusty from the trip and explored the suite. Found 2 additional bathrooms. Would you like to eat now? Yes, I'm starving, I say, as I take Davin's hand, drawn to the dining area by the tantalizing aroma of roasted meat and something else. Chocolate. You got chocolate. That was so thoughtful, sweetheart. I love watching you eat chocolate. The way your nose twitches when you smell it. The look in your eyes as you stalk it. The way you seem to attack each piece. Huh, I say. You are such a romantic. Let's eat. The dining table is large, oval, and surrounded by 10 chairs. I think President Jefferson would have liked this room. He was from another era, though. An era punctuated by civility, propriety, and honesty. David and I have pored over hundreds of pages of intel on President Miller, compiled by Olympus-based angelic operatives, meaning the information is completely accurate and spin-free. By all accounts, the president is a throwback. Her integrity seems unassailable. She appears to be an honest woman, I say, as I page through the documents on my tablet-sized data screen. Her stance on social issues has not wavered with the polls. She has strong opinions, but an equally strong respect for the rule of law and the right of every American to his or her own opinion. My gaze wanders to the window as I reflect on this powerful woman we are about to meet in the morning. She is refreshingly anomalous. A Democrat in name, Caroline Miller is so much more. She believes in reaching hands across the table to find solutions that will work. She is not afraid of calling large companies to task. She is a force for uniting in a sea of polarizers. I'm really looking forward to meeting her, I say. Me too. I just hope the message we must convey in the morning does not drive her to distraction, Davin says. It can't be worse than her finding out there are aliens on Earth. She seems to have come to terms with that, I say, with a droll smile. But when she discovers we're angels, it could get a little interesting. Davin smiles. And then there is the lovely Ms. Satterley to contend with. Susan Satterley is President Miller's national security advisor and most trusted confidant. She is also in league with the fallen, a minor detail we recently discovered, and one I hope does not push Madam President over the edge. Our teams in China, Japan, Europe, and the Middle East are in place, but the United States is the fulcrum on which our plan will swing. What's going through that lovely little head of yours? Davin asks. Let me think. I'm excited, but I'm also a little apprehensive. I know we can do this, but I have a strange sense that things are going to be a bit more complicated than we've anticipated. We've considered all logical contingencies, Davin says, and a few unorthodox ones for good measure. We will handle it. Davin is so confident. It's one of his strengths, although sometimes I fear it could become a weakness. But he's lived so much longer than me. I have to defer to his judgment. I really do. Mostly. Well, let's hope Satterley plays into our hands, I say. Maybe we should have sent her a copy of the plan? I sense something too, Ari. But I know we will not fail. I simply will not allow it. It's not that I'm a pessimist. It's just that since Davin and I visited my grandparents, I've changed so much. Senses amplified, intellect keener, confidence stronger. I am no longer the girl I was. I'm a fully evolved angel in every sense of the word. My grandparents, Calypso and Raphael, are direct descendants of the Creator and have ruled paradise since the mortal worlds were formed. Our heavenly sojourn was, to put it succinctly, mind-altering. Calypso's touch can be both loving and transformative, and she touched Davin and me a lot. I guess you can say she put the finishing touches on our training, smoothed out the ragged edges, and delivered us to the very terminus of angelic evolution. And Raphael? Oh, dear God, what my grandfather did to us, to all of us, I cannot even think about it without trembling. I turn to Davin. Let's go to bed, sweetheart. It's very early. It could take us hours to fall asleep. I'm in his arms, raking my fingers through his hair in less than a second. Who said anything about sleep, my lord? Oh, Ari, we should slow down. We wouldn't want to destroy this beautiful suite now, would we? I say, as my lips seek to devour his neck. We wouldn't want that. Slow is good. Slow is very good. A maddeningly familiar itch begins to spread across my upper back between my shoulder blades. "Oh," I say, as the hotel's plush white robe flies off my back and across the room. Davin stands before me, transfixed. "So beautiful. I will never tire of seeing them," he says, a look of utter adoration on his face. The room is large, so I spread my downy wings out to their full width. I feel powerful and sexy. "This could make for an interesting evening," I say, with a suggestive smile. Davin is speechless, completely under my spell, and I'm loving it. I lock eyes with him and wait. He closes his eyes, a smile slowly spreading across his face, and then he's standing there in all of his avian glory, my winged god. "I am yours, completely," he says, as he guides me to the bed. "Now, let's just get rid of that towel," I say, as I snatch it from around his hips. Now we're even, I think, making myself blush. My eyes slowly open as the morning sun filters in through frilly lace curtains. I shake the sleep out of my eyes and sit up, absently preening my white feathers, the feathers of my enormous and pretty much useless wings, the brainchild of my grandmother. I can hear her now. "Humans expect angels to be winged creatures, so you and your team will now be more believable. No one will question what you are." So, with the help of my grandfather Raphael, the mad geneticist of paradise, Davin, Talia, Ella, Tal, Lana, Grace, my parents, and I were each given a pair of retractable wings. Magnificent and otherworldly, they are completely useless and must be retracted or held closely to our sides when we fly, lest they become gigantic aerodynamic brakes. But they are so beautiful, and when Davin strokes them, it feels. "Good morning, Ari. Were you just thinking about me?" He can be such a smartass, but in this case, he happens to be right. I was thinking about how wonderful it feels when you stroke my wings. "Like this?" he asks, as he brushes a hand across the feathers closest to my right shoulder. "Yes," I say, in a small, breathless voice. "Good," he says, as his lips find mine. "I love you, Davin." "And I love you," he says. The limousine stops in front of the south portico, and if we weren't trying to stop the fallen from enslaving the world, I would feel like a princess in my own fairy tale. Regal purple blooms, wisteria, I think, line the steps up to the entrance. It's beautiful, like a castle, but I know that mere feet beyond the fences and security guards, poverty and suffering reign. The dichotomy is sobering. "Are you ready?" I ask Davin. "I'm champing at the bit, if you really want to know," he replies, with a confident smile. "Well, let's do this," I say, as a man in a black suit, most likely a Secret Service agent, leans down to open the door. He looks fit, alert, and professional, but his smile is kind as he offers me his hand. "Good morning, I'm Agent Edwards. President Miller is awaiting your arrival in the Oval Office." "Thank you," I say, as I scan the small security detail milling about casually. about as casually as a pack of Dobermans, I think. I am Ariel, and this is my husband, Davin. The agent looks a bit wary, but doesn't lose the smile. I'm pleased to make your acquaintance. It's not every day I get to meet representatives from another world. Over the last several weeks, our teams have been placed into position. World leaders have finally become aware that Earth is not alone. We have not yet revealed ourselves as angels, but that will change by the end of this day. There are fallen here. I sense 3. I whisper softly, so that only Davin can hear. He gives me a slight nod, squeezes my hand, and whispers his reply. I know. The first thing to strike me as we enter the Oval Office is how comfortable it seems. President Miller has done a good job with color and furnishings. Beyond its distinctive oval shape, the most famous feature of the office is the Resolute desk. Crafted of timber salvaged from the HMS Resolute, a British naval vessel, it was presented by Queen Victoria to President Rutherford B. Hayes in 1880. Since then, the desk has been used by every president with the exception of Johnson, Nixon, and Ford. The seating area with its opposing sofas is inviting. I scan the room, noting the doors, even the ones I know are hidden, the ones that offer an escape path in the event of a catastrophe, and the one that served a certain chief executive in his pursuit of extramarital liaisons of the most sordid kind. President Caroline Miller is a good person, and I hope our meeting goes well. I smile as she turns toward us. Welcome, she says, as she sweeps a few stray strands of light brown hair behind her ear. While not classically beautiful, Caroline Miller is a very attractive woman nonetheless. Youthful, vibrant, trim, impeccably groomed, and oh so confident. She exudes a quiet power, an elegant grace, and a steely determination that flows like waves from sea-green eyes. At 21, she married an Army Ranger who was tragically killed in action during Operation Desert Storm less than a year after their wedding. She has a law degree from Case Western Reserve University, but has never actually practiced law. Instead, at 24, having freshly passed the Ohio bar, she ran for Congress in her home district and won. At 46, she is at the peak of her game, or so the intel says. It is a pleasure to finally meet you, Madam President, I say. Madam President, Davin says, with a small nod of his head. Shall we proceed to make history? President Miller throws back her head, laughing heartily. You both seem much too young to be so confident and poised. But I know better, don't I? Now it's my turn to laugh. After spending so much time with Damien, I'm sure you do. And by the time our meeting is over, you will know even more, I add with a wry smile. She returns my smile and gently takes my arm. Damien, my father, has spent the past few months cultivating her friendship, knowing that she could ultimately become a fierce ally. Of course, she has no idea he's my dad. Until we reveal ourselves as angels, the fact that Damien and I appear to be very close in age would be a little bit suspicious. Please sit on the sofa and we shall endeavor to make history, she says. Would you like coffee or tea? Davin and I both nod. Yes, thank you, I say. Coffee would be most welcome. Black for both of us, please. Coming right up, the president says. Surprisingly, President Miller does not call for service. Instead, she opens a door in the center of the west wall and enters what appears to be a small kitchen. Do you know what Kopi Luwak is? She asks. Davin smiles. We both know that Kopi Luwak is a coffee bean ingested by a small Indonesian civet, then harvested from the creature's droppings. It's obscenely expensive and remarkably delicious. Actually, we do, I say, and we would love some. You'll like this particular batch. It's certified to have been harvested from wild civets. That sounds wonderful, I say. I can't help smiling at the president's seeming humility. In a way, she reminds me of our dear friend Thalia, the Olympian Governing Council's brilliant leader. Thalia is in Iran with my sister Lana and a team of warriors, ensuring that 6 compromised Iranian officials are eliminated. I offer up a silent prayer for their success. Thank you, Madam President, I say, as she sets a tray of coffee and miniature pastries on the table between the 2 sofas and takes a seat across from us. It's nothing. I waited tables while going to college. And if we don't make history today, I insist that you call me Caroline. All right, then. I smile and let Davin take the lead, knowing what he's about to say. You are aware of our home world and the portal. I believe you are also aware from your brief visit to Olympus that humans and mortal Olympians are genetically similar. They are simply at slightly different stages of evolution. Wait, Caroline says, holding up a hand. Mortal Olympians? Are you implying that you and Ariel are not mortal? She looks a bit alarmed, and her hand is visibly shaking as she places her coffee cup down on the table. Time for a little female empathy, I think. I understand that this is going to be a little difficult for you to accept, but please try to keep an open mind, Caroline. We are your friends. I pause, seeking the right words for what I must tell her next. She leans forward, looking deeply apprehensive. Please, go on. Davin and I are not mortal, Caroline. We are angels. I stop, allowing the words to sink in. Angels? She closes her eyes and repeats the word, seemingly turning it around in her mind. That is a little hard to believe, my friends, especially for an agnostic like me. I can understand that, Davin says with a warm smile. Can you prove it? Can you prove that you're angels? I look at Davin and a silent affirmation passes between us. I think we can do that, I say softly, as I rise to my feet and move to the center of the room. I'm wearing a business suit made from an Olympian metamaterial that allows wing-sized slits to open over my shoulders when necessary. Thankful that I will not be flashing the president, I concentrate on moving the nanites that control my wings. President Miller is focused only on me. The silence is broken by the soft rustle of my jacket as my emerging wings provide sufficient pressure to open the slits. When they are fully extended, Caroline rises to her feet, a look of wonder on her face. I slowly move my wings forward, enclosing the 2 of us within our own private and feathery space. She reaches out to touch one of my feathers, and when she makes contact, I allow her to see into my heart. As members of the angelic royal family, David and I can both detect and project emotions. I allow her to feel my love for Earth, my resolve to save the human race, and my desire to vanquish all that is evil. She gasps as a single tear glides down her cheek. I feel. Her hand begins to tremble and she pauses. Don't be afraid, Caroline. You are safe with us. I've simply allowed you to feel what's in my heart. Her eyes go wide and she pulls away. It was... Oh my word, I felt you. You're really angels. We are, I say soothingly. I always... She begins, but then stops. Never mind. It's not important now, she adds in a whisper. Caroline, are you all right? Davin asks. She smiles tentatively at first, but then breaks into a wide, toothy grin that lights up her eyes. All things considered, yeah, I'm fine. I'm going to hide my wings now, I say. Caroline nods. She has not taken her eyes off me, and I have to urge her to sit down. So, now that we've gotten that over with, I say, there are several issues we do need to discuss. Let's make sure I've got this, Caroline says. Fallen angels have infiltrated key governments around the world, including the United States, in an attempt to trigger a global war. The Chinese threat we've been working to solve is based on false intelligence? Yes, Davin says. The Chinese are planning to take down your grid because they believe you're planning to take down theirs. We're screwed, Caroline mutters. I smile uncomfortably. We have a team in China. Let's hope they can defuse the situation before China does something foolish. I am responsible for 300 million lives, Ariel. I need more than hope. Isn't it enough that heaven is on our side? I can't help but frown. Paradise is not without fault. My grandparents' decision to stay out of Earth's affairs is probably the single greatest reason we are in this situation. But we can't change that now. Thankfully, Davin fields the question. Paradise places great importance on free will, he says. And while some nations are clearly corrupt, we cannot put millions of innocents at risk simply because they happen to live there. I hope you understand that I will put the safety of American citizens above anything else. I took an oath to that effect. And we know that, I say. And we'll do everything we can to make sure you will not have to make that kind of choice. I squeeze the bridge of my nose and place my hand on the coffee table between the sofas. I swear it, Caroline. I'll hold you to it, she says in a near whisper. Caroline Miller looks deeply concerned. Do you have a plan? She asks. As a matter of fact, we do, I say. But first we need to protect this house, the White House. There are 3 fallen angels in the building. We can sense them, but they cannot sense us until we are in closer proximity. If you can get Director Satterley into this office, we might be able to lure the fallen into a trap, and then we can neutralize them. You're going to kill them? Caroline's voice rises an octave. In the White House? If they give us no other choice, I say. We would, however, prefer to take them prisoner and see what kind of information they would like to share with us. What about Susan? She asks. You said she was compromised. The fallen can influence a human in many ways, Davin says, but a strong mind can always resist. She's a good woman, Davin, and she's strong. Can you help her? Will you help her? Of course, he says, but now we need you to call Susan and persuade her to invite the three fallen ones into this office before they can do any damage. Caroline bows her head and stares at her phone. She's frightened. I place a hand on her arm and smile. It will be okay. She looks down at my hand. I hope you're right, she says, as she makes the call.